Real quick before the video starts, I recently opened up channel memberships, so if you would like to support the channel and the work I do here, you're more than welcome to. It's only $2 a month. You get access to like custom emojis and custom badges and stuff, as well as members only content. Without any further ado, let's jump into the video. Fabian Thielmann is a German-born businessman who was once a key player and founder of the adult content conglomerate formerly known as Manwin. At some point, it was rebranded to MindGeek after he sold a stake in the company, and later, on March 16, 2023, it was bought by Ethical Capital Partners based in Canada, with the firm having rebranded the acquired company to ALO later that year. Currently, ALO has ownership over a myriad of adult content sites, including the subject of today's video, which I'll be referring to as the Hub, and we're going to be exploring some of the darker aspects of this site. As I just mentioned, Fabian Thielmann was the original founder of this current amalgamation of adult content now known as ALO, being made up of various adult content entities, a lot of which he managed to acquire during his reign, and this includes the company that launched the Hub going by the name rnHub, which has ties to another company going by the name Mansif. The trio that seems to have been linked to rnHub, Mansif, and thus the Hub's creation are Stefan Manos, Wissam Youssef, and another man who, according to the New York Magazine, in 2007 bought the domain for the site, and his name is Matt Keyser. Speaking of him, he seems to be a bit of an elusive figure, having very little information about his early career, as well as his time at rnHub on the internet. While doing some digging, I stumbled across this LinkedIn profile of a Matt Keyser, and going to his experience, he's been the CEO and co-founder of many companies such as Momentum Ventures, FlightHub, and the aforementioned rnHub. On two websites that cover news in the business world, the CEO Magazine and The Walrus, there seems to be an ostensible image of the Matt Keyser in question as they bring up his various business ventures in the aviation industry, specifically at the travel agencies listed on the LinkedIn profile. However, neither of these articles go into his time at rnHub, and the only thing that seems to link him to rnHub directly, the company responsible for the Hub's creation, is the LinkedIn profile. There's not even so much as a blurb Wikipedia article on Matt Keyser or his former partners, kind of like how Fabian Thielmann has a relatively short article, and you would think there'd be more information on the ones who initially started the biggest adult video platform out there. I think the scarcity of information on their time at rnHub and Mansif is an interesting notion, and one that honestly makes a lot of sense as they've all moved on to more conventional business ventures, with Steph and Wissam's LinkedIn profiles not even listing their time at Mansif or their relationship with rnHub, and I imagine they'd probably want to distance themselves as much as possible from said companies, and by extension a taboo industry such as adult content, as well as the biggest entity in that space, which over the years has had its fair share of serious allegations and controversy boiling up that would eventually come to light. On October 25th, 2019, an article for NBC News was made, and it goes into a story that took place in the state of Florida, in which a 15-year-old girl went missing in December 2018 after having left her home in the city of Sunrise at around 3 o'clock in the morning. 2 months later, local authorities received a tip from a clerk at a convenience store in Davie who happened to recognize the missing girl, having spotted her with 2 men, one of whom was a man named Christopher Johnson. Surveillance footage revealed she left with the men in a black Dodge Challenger, but unfortunately the clerk wasn't able to get the license plate number. On September 3rd, the victim's mother contacted police and said that at some point she received information that, quote, explicit images of her daughter had been posted on several websites including the Hub and Snapchat. Quote, the images came from videos allegedly showing the victim performing inappropriate acts on 2 males. According to the affidavit, approximately 58 videos of the teenager had been shared online, police said. Eventually, Johnson's black Dodge Challenger was found and police were able to track an address to his apartment, and on October 22nd, Christopher Johnson was arrested, having been charged with in lascivious battery of a child younger than 16. During the search of Johnson's apartment, quote, detectives found paperwork from a clinic. The girl told police that videos were filmed on her phone inside Johnson's apartment. She also told police that after she got pregnant, he took her to a clinic to terminate the pregnancy. There's limited information online regarding this case, so whether or not Johnson was convicted is unknown. I also recognize this case only briefly goes into how videos of the underage girl were found on the Hub, but I still believe this story was worth mentioning because unfortunately, it's not the only instance in which out-of-place content has been uploaded, and over the years the Hub has been in hot water, with there having been videos hosted on the site that were so disturbing in nature that the likes of the FBI had to step in and conduct a widespread investigation into the men involved in producing said content. According to Otago Daily Times, both Matthew Isaac Wolf and Michael James Pratt are New Zealand-born men who met at elementary school in Christchurch and have been close friends ever since. Straight out of high school, Michael entered the adult content industry, having launched multiple websites in the year 2000. At some point, Michael moved to the US to further his business ventures, and later on, Matthew followed suit, deciding he was going to help out his longtime friend and now business partner to take things to the next level. Matthew would convince many women who were struggling financially to shoot films for him, meeting up at motel rooms to film. Quote, in the US, Matthew Wolf persuaded women aged between 18 and 23 to appear in adult videos, telling them that the videos would never be posted online. Further, he promised that no one who knew the women would ever find out about their production, but despite his promises, Matthew Wolf was well aware that personal identifying information and social media accounts for some women were being posted on a site controlled by Michael Pratt, dedicated to exposing the true identities of individuals appearing in the videos. To add insult to injury, not only were said videos hosted on their subscription-based site, but the videos were also clipped and posted to other adult sites, having amassed billions of views altogether across different platforms. As I mentioned earlier, Matthew Wolf worked for Michael James Pratt, with him having been the mastermind behind the now defunct Girls Do website, which I'll be referring to as GDP. And according to the website of the US Department of Justice, quote, in federal court, ALO, the parent company to the Hub, was arraigned on a charge of engaging in unlawful monetary transactions involving trafficking proceeds after entering into a deferred prosecution agreement with the United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York to resolve the charge. And essentially what this DPA means is that the prosecutor and defendant, which is ALO in this case, have come to an agreement, and if ALO breaches said agreement, quote, the company has agreed to be prosecuted for engaging in unlawful monetary transaction. This DPA holds the parent company of the Hub accountable for its role in hosting videos and accepting payments from criminal actors who coerce young women into engaging in acts on videos that were posted without their consent. Motivated by profit, ALO Holdings knowingly enriched itself by turning a blind eye to the concerns of victims who communicated to the company that they were deceived and coerced into participating in illicit activity. Under the terms of the DPA, ALO has agreed to pay over $1.8 million to the United States. ALO has also agreed to provide monetary payments to the victims of the GDP operators who have not otherwise already received compensation and whose images were posted on ALO's platforms. In a nutshell, ALO was in hot water because their site, The Hub, was hosting content from the official GDP channel owned by Michael James Pratt, alongside Matthew Isaac Wolf, who was his right-hand man. In October 2019, he was arrested and ended up pleading guilty in federal court on July 26, 2022, to the role he played in a conspiracy to fraudulently coerce young women with his friend and business partner Michael Pratt, and as a result, he was sentenced to 14 years in prison. One thing that Matthew Wolf admitted to that I want to highlight once more is the fact that he was well aware of a website Michael Pratt ran dedicated to exposing personal information and the true identities of those who were featured in his videos, with said site having been WikiLeaks.com. Sources say that a former male adult video star known by the name Donnie Long was the one who initially came up with the PWL website, and this notion is supported by a search warrant issued on January 15, 2025, with the applicant of said warrant being an experienced FBI agent named Lana Sabata. The purpose of the search warrant application is to further inspect evidence of a crime, and it states that Donnie Long was arrested in November 2023 with 2 devices having been seized, an Asus computer tower and a Samsung Galaxy S20. It's also stated that along with Donnie Long having been the original owner of PWL, Special Agent Lana Sabata also believes that Michael Pratt bought PWL off him in 2015, and there's several reasons listed to support this claim. First and foremost, I want to detour for a second and talk about a company called Domains by Proxy LLC, founded by Bob Parsons. Their parent company is a domain registrar GoDaddy, and they were the service providers for PWL. In November 2015, a subpoena response from Domains by Proxy was made, saying that a request for a change in ownership was made, and it was discovered that the new email address associated with the domain, mike@bllmedia.com, was an address known to be tied to Michael Pratt. Furthermore, evidence was seized on October 9, 2019 during an investigation into Pratt and GDP, and upon inspection of the evidence within the electronic devices that law enforcement managed to get a hold of, a Skype conversation was discovered between Michael Pratt, who went by the handle MikeyBoyBoy1, and his friend Matthew Wolf, whose username was Wolfsta. Quote, in the conversation, Pratt sent Wolf a photo of a message that Pratt received from GoDaddy, who advised Pratt that PWL was in violation of GoDaddy's terms of service because PWL was displaying a driver's license. As you can see at the very end, there's a little number 3, and scrolling down, Special Agent Lana Sabata elaborates by saying that, quote, Pratt and his employees took photos and videos of each female model holding her driver's license and other information before they filmed the video. At times, those images were displayed on PWL. Also, upon forensic analysis into the seized devices from GDP, yet another Skype chat was discovered, this time between Pratt and Donnie Long, who went by the username The Real Donnie Long, referencing how PWL was a good way to drive traffic to GDP. Now just to quickly wrap up the story of PWL, the site eventually met its fate when the infamous site founded by Christopher Hinson and owned by a company called WGCZ located in the Czech Republic bought and burned a whole bunch of hard drives containing the personal information showcased previously on PWL. Circling back to the man who played a pivotal role in the coercion, manipulation, doxing, and exploitation of women, he ultimately would find massive success, having generated millions of dollars due to the large amount of traffic he managed to funnel into the official GDP site, which was subscription based. However, at some point his business would come to a halt as Pratt would go on the run, not only leaving San Diego, California, the location in which his operations mainly took place, but he fled the US entirely in 2019. From there, search efforts for the now fugitive would increase, and in 2022, Michael James Pratt was added to the FBI's top 10 most wanted fugitives list. On December 21st of that same year, he was found staying at a hotel in Madrid by Spanish National Police and was subsequently arrested and extradited to the US. On March 19th, 2024, Pratt made his first appearance in federal court following his extradition the night prior and was faced with 19 felony charges, including 15 counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud, and coercion, conspiracy to commit sex trafficking by force, fraud, and coercion, production of CP, sex trafficking of a minor by force, fraud, and coercion, and conspiracy to commit money laundering. According to Courthouse News Service, on September 6, 2024, it was announced that Michael Pratt would stand trial the following year on September 2nd, 2025. Quote, the judge said scheduling it 1 year in advance was justified due to how unusual and expansive this case is, with survivors from across the country and Canada expected to testify.